So we're back. We're back here on stream. My name is Glenn Eggers. This is Aaron Wallace, and we'll be bringing you what is now round 3 of our FNM event. Yeah, FNM event. So we have Ian Robbins playing Red Green Monsters, and Kris King on the same deck you saw last time. Naya beats.
Oh, Kris King's back, huh?
Yeah, Kris King's back.
Is that Kris? I'm back on Stream King.
I think it is. I think that is actually his legal name.
Oh, and look at Ian showing us his hand. That's nice.
That is very nice of him.
Definitely look like a blue pronounce there. Hard to say that one sometimes.
All right, so it looks like we got Kris on a mulligan. It seemed like I've seen Kris play this deck, and I don't think it mulligans too well. I mean, all his threats are about the same mana cost and really low, but he needs to hit his first through third land drops pretty consistently, and if he can't do that, then his deck kind of dwindles down, especially against a deck that's ramping to a Polukranos on turn 3.
Absolutely, because 5 damage is going to hurt you really fast.
Yeah, because Kris is playing 5/5s of his own, but his aren't coming out till turn 4 at the earliest.
Yeah. Oh, is that another
So we got a mold of 5 here. Really rough for Kris.
One thing I was thinking about in the first match is I don't know if I saw any mana confluences in Kris's deck. I don't know if he's been able to get those yet, or does he want those?
I think Mana Confluence is actually a really good card. I think he does want those, definitely. Any aggressive deck that doesn't necessarily care about their life total as much as a control deck would is going to want to play Mana Confluence, especially the ones in 2-3 colors, because actually, I think especially the ones in 2 colors. Since they only have access to the Scrylands and the Shocks, and they have a bunch of basics, they want to be hitting their colors. I think Mana Confluence is really good. That being said, I do think Kris is playing 2.
Oh, okay.
I think I looked through his deck before the round, and I think I saw 2 in there.
So it looks like Kris is going first.
Sacred Foundry, definitely not his best land. I think he wants to see a green source, so he's able to play his almost all his creatures are.
Yeah, Voice of Resurgence we saw last time, and then the Fleece Mane Lion.
Experiment 1, Advent of the Worm being double green. So we do see Stomping Ground, Fleece Mane Lion. So it's actually not a bad start for Kris. One of the better creatures in the matchup. So we Mizium Mortars on the Fleece Mane Lion, kind of keeping the board control up, so Ian can play his own big dudes. And if it gets to the point where Kris doesn't have anything on board, and Ian's playing his Polukranos and his Stormbreath Dragon, I think this game's going to be over in quick order.
It's almost going to be kind of the opposite of what we saw before, how Kris had the advantage of the deck matchup.
Yeah.
Ian has like the bigger creatures, and he has the bigger punches.
Right.
As long as Kris doesn't like overwhelm him with some fast creatures.
So again, coming down to the quality of the cards rather than how fast you can get them out there,
right.
Kind of thing. Where Kris can get his cards out just as fast, but we're better quality against Jeff, and this kind of the same thing where Ian might be able to get his Stormbreath Dragon out quicker than his Advent of the Worm and be able to do more damage with it.
Right, and it's going to be very key if it's an Advent of the Worm versus Stormbreath Dragon that the Advent token doesn't fly.
So this is kind of a tell from Kris King's side. I mean, he did have to roll down to 5, so I don't blame him, but not the best creature to be actually playing. You don't see it a lot where they're actually playing their Gore Clan Rampager. He's a 4/4 Trampler for 4, but usually use him for his 2-mana Blood Rush.
There's another
one. There's another one on Ian's side, so it's looking like both kept kind of slower hands than what the decks are used to.
Ooh, and a Johnny.
So Johnny comes down. It looks like we're going to put a counter on his Gore Clan Rampager, making him a 5/5.
Offering a trade, possibly.
Possible trade. I don't think Kris has any sort of combat tricks with a single green open, but Giant Growth is in the format, so yeah, we are going to see potential double block here from Ian to trade with the Gore Clan Rampager. Yep.
And there it is.
So they trade, both go to graveyard. So there's a Mana Confluence we were talking about.
Yeah, it's one of the great new cards out of the new set here.
Functional reprint of an old card,
City
of Brass, yeah. And also Grand Coliseum, except that one comes into play tap.
Right.
Same kind of thing.
It's kind of funny. Yeah, Magic does these reprints of cards, but they always make something different, so it's really neat to see.
Yeah, just like the slight differences between the cards. Because what's interesting with City of Brass is that it's actually a triggered ability when the land becomes tapped, so you can actually respond to that by using the mana from City of Brass to like win the game somehow. So like I've seen Storm decks do that before, where they just kind of with the trigger on the stack are like winning the game.
Yeah, it's so funny how those little little differences of the card.
Yeah,
Make
really
things
kind of edging all your cards to
we got
the best playability.
a Xenagos here.
So Xenagos is going to come down and bring a Johnny to 2. We see a Stormbreath Dragon and a Boonsater at least in Ian hands. I didn't catch the other 2.
Ooh, and there's a Witch Doctor, it looks like, and got a counter on it. That could be in trouble for Ian Robbins. Of course, he has Mizia Mortars in his deck, so Ian can still deal with that creature, even if it has hexproof.
Oh, so a Witch Stalker came down for Kris.
Yeah,
That's not a bad creature against the Ian Robbins deck. I mean, usually you want to see your bigger dudes. We see Kris King block the Witch Stalker, and Ian's got a Gore Clan Rampager to kind of trample over and favorably kill the Gore Clan or kill Kris's Witch Stalker. And then Apollo Kranos coming down, kind of making an overwhelming board state for Kris's deck. I don't think that he can beat a 5/5 as well as a Xenagos on board. Really in the same way that Burn was a good matchup for the Naya deck, I think Red Green Monsters has a good matchup against the Naya deck, just because they have higher card quality, as we see here. I don't think Kris can actually favorably deal with the Xenagos. I mean, generally you're gonna even if you D10 Sphere, they have a 2/2 on board, but I think Kris really has to expend a lot of the cards in his hand to be able to deal with the Xenagos. And when he's this far behind, I don't think he can do that.
Wow, especially with the Boonsater.
Yeah. So we see a concession on game 1 for from Kris King, and that'll bring Ian Robbins up 1 game, and we'll be seeing sideboards coming from both of them. I was looking at Kris's sideboard. I don't think it's too good for this matchup. A lot of his cards, he had Fiendslayer Paladin, Unflinching Courage. There was a Deicide in there. Those kind of things. I don't think most of those cards don't actually interact with Ian's deck. I think he was really hoping to play against the control decks as well as the aggressive decks, not less of these mid-range Planeswalker decks.
Yeah. Do you? I don't know if Kris King is playing any Celestia Charms in his sideboard, or what do you think about that in this match? Because it's kind of neat because he can deal with a Pelucranos in that way, which is a devastating card.
Pelucranos you can deal with, but the Stormbreath Dragon is still really a big problem.
Right.
He's a 4/4 who blocks most of his dude, and is also really fast clock that can deal with Kris's few Planeswalkers. He gets to play a Johnny, or he's playing a Johnny, so he can deal with that really easily. But yeah, Selesnya Charm definitely. There's some main board. I'm not sure if I saw any sideboard, but there's at least, I think there's 2 main board. So, or it has to be more than that. Because in his deck, it's not just a removal spell. It's not just a pump spell. It's actually one of his creatures.
Right.
Being able to play the 2/2 at instant speed on turn 2.
As you were saying, all 3 modes of that card are really nice.
Yeah.
And depending on the game. Don't look like Xenagos with those going out.
Xenagoses are coming out. That seems like a fine choice. A lot of Kris's cards can kind of like if he just has
a win more card, you know.
Yeah.
If he's behind, Ian's behind, it's not going to pull him out of that maybe.
And even a single Gore Clan can kind of deal with it from Kris's side.
And plus he's on the draw here, so he has less likelihood of being the aggro player.
These cheap little cameras are doing awesome.
You know, one card that I did see from Kris King was in his sideboard was Madcap Skills. That might be a really good one for him in this matchup. Because generally Ian's not playing multiple creatures fast. He's playing high-quality creatures like Polykranos and Stormbreath Dragon. And so if he's able to just kind of... Madcap Skills making it so that he can only block with 2 or more creatures.
And if he actually gets a trade where Ian at the best can trade 2 creatures for 1 creature, that's going to make it have its value, for
and
sure.
Kris is definitely okay with that.
And I wonder how many Witch Doctors does Kris have in his deck, because that'll definitely put up the value of a card like Madcap Skills.
Yeah. Definitely not a lot from Kris's side of the board, though, that's going to be able to threaten Ian's life total as much as he wants it to. I think Ian's card quality is just better. And he has just a lot of the same tricks Kris has, Ian has as well, but he is able to ramp to them. So
I've seen a lot of indecisiveness from Ian here. He's kind of...
he was choosing between a Mizia Mortars, or is it Mizia Mortars and Boone Satyr, and he decided to go with the Mizzy Mortars, which I think is a safe call, definitely a responsible call, because he's able to remove Kris's 2-drop with his 2-drop, and then have the better cards.
Yeah,
when
and
he
it was
gets to
pretty
turn 4 or
crucial in
5.
game 1 where he played the second turn Fleecebane Lion, I believe, and then he was able to Mizzy Mortar it. Ian was able to Mizzy Mortar it.
Especially when Kris was on a mold of 5, having the removal spell for his 2-drop that he was hoping to stay on the field. Looks like when he's shuffling, I'm seeing Unflinching Courage. That could be pretty good.
Especially if it brings it out of that Mizzy Mortar range. I don't know what cards Ian could have to combat that.
I don't think he can. If he's able to land it on a Witch Stalker and then maybe put a couple counters on it or something, that Witch Stalker can get really out of control with the Hexproof, just being bigger than Apollo Kranos and being able to trample over with Lifelink. Really making the race a lot easier for him. So we see 2 keeps from them. Temple of Abandon come down for Kris, and then Scry keeping it on the top.
As you were saying in the first game, the green mana is very crucial for Kris King.
Right, so we're going to see a Mana Confluence come down, take 1, and see a Voice Resurgence. Not necessarily Kris's best creature.
In this matchup.
In this matchup, I would want to see more like a Fleecebane Lion, playing the more power creatures for your
the more
mana.
bang for your buck.
The more bang for your buck. Courser Crewfix. So that's going to block most of Kris's early drops. But I don't think that when he's holding up mana like that, Ian can actually block. So yeah, he's just going to take 2 there.
Definitely signaling that he has the Rampager or the Blood Rush guy.
Yeah, Gore Clan Rampager.
Yeah.
So if he had that, there would have been... Oh, no, we are going to see a block.
Oh, we are going to see it.
And we do see the Gore Clan Rampager.
Interesting.
So he's going to trample over for 2. And he's going to take another 1 from his Mana Confluence. And we're going to just see a Scryland. So not an extremely eventful turn for Kris. If we see Apollo Kranos here from Ian, or most of any of his 4-drops, yeah, that's going to kind of put a...
Yeah, the one thing that's really an interesting thing in this match is Ian can lay big creatures, and so can Kris. But Ian is the only one who can really deal with the big creatures on Kris's side for the most part.
I haven't seen a Domri come down from Ian either, but that card seems really good in the matchup.
Right.
Just being able to fight, having a removal spell that kind of stays on the field too, as well as generates card advantage. Because Kris, I don't think I've seen in his 75 anywhere have any sort of card advantage in his deck. It's really just about kind of getting in and out as fast as possible.
Right.
So Kris here is kind of telegraphing a Advent of the Worm, which you'll probably see come down at the end of Ian's turn, or if the Gore Clan Rampager swings, because he shocked to keep up his 4th mana, and he hadn't played anything.
True.
So we're going to see him take 4 from the Gore Clan Rampager, not wanting to reveal that he has the Advent of the Worm, as well as not wanting to block because he doesn't want to get blown out by a combat trick.
Well, like a Rampager on that Rampager would be pretty devastating.
So Kris is already down to 11. He's taken 3 from this Mana Confluence. Actually might be irrelevant.
Wow.
However, we see a Unflinching Courage come down on the Worm, which will give him Trample, Lifelink, and +2/+2. So he's 7/7 Trample, Lifelink.
One Courageous Worm.
So 7/7.
Ooh, but the Boone Satyr. Here it comes on the Rampager. The one way you can kind of combat Lifelink is if you hit them really fast. But what do we got here? We got I see. The Voice of Resurgence token.
Because he cast a card on
Boone
his
Satyr,
turn.
yeah. That could be important. Ooh,
So you see a Xenagos God of Revels, which will give his Gore Clan Rampager +8/+8 at the beginning of
Is
combat.
that real? Really?
Yes.
That's a lot.
It's +X/+X, where X is a creature's power when it goes to attack, and so it was an 8/6, and then it got.
And it just got in there, and boom.
I think we saw a Boros Charm from Kris's side though, which really turned that game over.
Right. The Unflinching Courage is really tough to get away from.
Yeah, even though he was able to do, let's see, up to 16 damage that turn, Ian still couldn't combat the lifelink that Kris was putting out.
That's true.
So we're seeing Kris up 1 game. Oh no, they're
It's a
tied
tie
now.
right now, yeah.
Yeah, that was our first sideboard game. So we're gonna go into game 3 actually. Our first game 3 here on stream.
That's another first.
That's another first.
Sweet.
So yeah, if Kris is able to get down his aggressive threats early and the unflinching courage actually a lot better in this matchup than I thought it would be. I thought it would be less of a race and more board control, but it seemed that unflinching courage really proved that the race was important.
Yeah, it seems like this is a big, kind of a race. And if not a race, Kris might have the smaller creatures. And so Kris would have to throw, but if he throws the unflinching courage, it's not only going to make his creatures bigger sometimes.
Yeah.
It's gonna that lifelink is going to be just so great for his side and so devastating to Ian, who's going to try to kill him quicker. And also, you were talking about the Domri. If a creature has the unflinching courage, it's going to make it unable to be fought with the Domri.
Or at least profitably fought.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to just kind of, throw his creatures in front of other creatures because he's going to probably lose his creature as well as Kris is going to gain life and make his race that much harder.
Yeah, and we didn't see any of the players go to the sideboard here, did we?
No sideboard in, but I mean you could have sideboarded in between game 2 and 3, but you don't see it a lot in standard. Just because usually your cards are just as good on the play as in the draw. A lot of times in Legacy, you'll see people side out Dazes if they're on the draw because it's a significantly worse. Force Spike isn't as good on the draw. But in Standard, generally your cards are just as good on the draw as they are in the play. So we don't see a lot of sideboarding in between game 2 and 3.
Forest here. Kind of interesting. We almost always see a lead with a come into play tap land.
Which isn't bad for Kris. He gets to kind of set up his next draw and set up his next draw so his card quality is better.
Right. Wow.
This is kind of a weird couple turns for the two decks. Kris not having a 2-drop and then Ian not having anything from 1 to 3.
And then another, his first spell is going to be played on turn 4.
So turn 4, Ian puts down a Gorkland Rampager. I wouldn't be surprised if I see a Boon Satyr here. Yep, there it is.
There we go.
So we see a Boon Satyr come down. Kris now at 19.
Here comes no block.
So he's going to swing for 4. Ian's not going to block. Probably a smart call with how many combat tricks that Kris is playing.
Right.
See another land come down.
You were talking about Stormbreath Dragon earlier. I mean, we could see one right here, possibly.
We could see a Stormbreath or a Xenagod. So he's going to come in for 8.
Oh, is that a Selesnya charm?
So after the trigger, before damage, he's going to Selesnya charm to exile a creature power 5 or greater. And the Gorkland was an 8/8 there. So.
And as we were just talking about, this is kind of a more of a racy match.
Yeah.
So if you have a big turn like that, you're just going to swing everything for you. And wow, look at all that damage. Just a lot
so we're going to see Kris go to 25, and then Ian go all the way down to, let's see, 6, so 10. Wow. So really good swing there.
Xenagos is sitting by his lonesome at the moment.
Yeah, being able to tempo Ian by exiling the creature and then play an unflinching courage while he's tapped out is really good there. I don't know if Ian has the next couple of plays here that'll get him out of this situation.
That Satyr still has a toughness of 4, though, correct?
Correct. So it's a 6/4.
So it could be
he's only a
Mizium Mortar.
4/2. It could be Mizium Mortars. I think he's contemplating playing his Polish Crusher. Because I think he has, even before Monstrous, has protection from enchantments, which can actually block the Boon Satyr because it is an enchantment creature.
Right. That is correct. Really contemplating his play here.
Because realistically, Ian still needs to be able to kill Kris. He can't just kind of sit back and play blockers. Eventually, he will have to swing in. It makes it really difficult when he's playing unflinching, when Kris has an unflinching courage on his side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ian really in the think tank here. Decides to play the Polish Crusher, noticing that his guy has protection from enchantments.
Very interesting addition.
Yeah, it's
Robbins 75.
Theros being an enchantment set, you get a lot of value from cards like Deicide or just anything that says destroy or exile an enchantment. I didn't realize that until recently that Golgari Charm says destroy an enchantment, which actually kills like Corsair Crufix. Somebody killed my Corsair Crufix last week with a Golgari Charm, and I was just like, blown out of the waters by it.
You're kind of like, what?
Yeah,
What? That's
no,
not fair.
way too good of a removal spell if it's also just pay 2, destroy target creature as well as his other modes.
And that's where I'm building decks. I go and I look at all the enchantment creatures and go, hey, what can we do with this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, totally put up the value of Golgari Charm when you have all these enchantment creatures.
Yeah, now that
Enchantment artifacts.
the black-green decks have Scryland now, I feel like they got up a lot better. Just their mana is a lot better. So you see a voice come down from Ian,
So
or for Kris, I mean.
yeah.
And he's got a shock, keeping
So-
up 2 mana.
Oh wow, is that a double Rampager? Did he even wait for the block? Wow.
So you see blocks. I don't know if the block matters. He was already trampling for 2, and then the
Right.
double Gore Clan. And if Ian, I don't think Ian does have any instant speed removal on red green. I don't think that actually exists. That can
Yeah, I
be
don't
able to
think
kill
so
a
either.
6/4,
A
but
fog, perhaps.
yeah, maybe
A
maybe the fog.
The fog. Somebody could have slipped him a fog.
So we see that round end again fairly quickly. 3 games ending in under 20 minutes, or just about 20 minutes. So Naya being able to take it down in 3. Kind of an interesting game. Definitely not how I pictured the games going.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting, especially how they played on that third game. They only played a creature or any spell on turn 4.
Yeah, and usually going till turn 4 and not playing a spell will benefit Ian's deck. But again, he's still not advancing his board state, and when he did, he still only played a Gorkland Rampager. Like definitely
Right,
not the
no
best creature.
Pelucanos, no Stormbreath Dragon, those creatures that Kris would have a really difficult time dealing with or
Right.
couldn't deal with at all.
Right, and so you just kind of saw him there, kind of play the Gore Clan, swing in, gets Selesnya Charm. That tempo play with the Selesnya Charm is really kind of what put it in.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the Unflinching Courage, which I undervalued in the matchup. I honestly did not think that card was that good. In this matchup particularly, I know it's really good against the red-white decks or against the aggressive one-drop decks like the mono-white or the white-black mid-range. But this matchup, it was actually fairly surprising.
Unflinching Courage seems pretty good with against those red-green decks, the ones that don't have the black for the Jund monsters, because once you throw black in that mix, and you got cards like Dreadbore where you can really punish someone for playing something like an Unflinching Courage, whereas like Ian would just have the Mizium Mortars.
I punted that second game so hard.
Would you get Ian's here talking to us on camera?
You want to come talk real quick?
Yeah, what were you thinking?
So what were you thinking, Ian?
So I was thinking that I'm an idiot. Well, so I was thinking he had Selesnya Charm. That was card that was in my mind. So I was like, ooh.
You want to backtrack for us? What's going on in the
Yeah.
board state right now?
Oh, okay. So I'm attacking with the Gorkland Rampager into a Voice of Resurgence. And I've got the Xenagod in my hand. So he was at something kind of low, like 14 or something like that. And so I was thinking I was gonna end of turn, Boon Satyr, make it an 8/8 Xenagod,
Hit for
16 him,
Right.
because he was at pretty low at that point. Because he was probably going to take 4 unless he did like a Celestia Charm or something like that. So I was like, okay, probably the 4 damage is not going to matter. I'd rather have the sneakiness, of hopefully he taps out, he like plays a Johnny or Witchstalker or something like that, so I know I'm safe. So maybe he taps out a Celestia Charm because I didn't want to get a 16 power guy out there
And then have a
and then get it charmed. Or I was also 1 off from turning on my god, so I didn't want my god to get Celestia Charmed. So I did that, and then he played Avalon Worm and put a 7 life link on it, and then hit me for 7, gaining 7, and then I had the Boon Satyr give him a 2/2, which left me 2 short of lethal. So,
2 short of lethal.
Yeah, because he went up to
Because that
He went
lifelink
to
was so
25, I believe.
20.
Or I think it was at 18. He went to 25. I might be mistaken. I don't really.
I don't remember exactly, but I think I remember. Then I ended up playing the god and hitting him for 16, and I think he just took it and went down to 2.
Oh yeah.
I think.
Wow. Well, that wasn't. Yeah, he was at 11. He went to 18.
Yeah,
That's what
he went to
at,
18.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, really close game in that second one.
So I punted that one, and then the
Yeah.
third game, I don't know. My keep is like I think it's okay. It wasn't great.
So you didn't
So
play anything till turn 4. I didn't
Turn
really know what was
4.
in your
Yeah,
hand.
It
both of
was
you guys were
5
super slow.
lands, Stormbreath Dragon, Xenagod on the
Okay.
play. So I had 2 mountains, 3 forests. So I was like, I don't know. Don't want to really go to 6. It's a little bit slow, but
Any of your top decks are live, pretty much.
yeah, I mean, most of my deck costs like 3 mana, or Elvish Mystic, Caryatids are all good there. And
You played the Xenagos, the God of the Revels. You played that card twice in that match. Did you like that in that match, or chosen a different card if you could?
No, I like it. I think because it's kind of like his Ajani, where it's just like you can play it and then kill him. Which is kind of good. It's not like amazing. I cited out my Xenagos Planeswalkers because they're just kind of small and don't block things well.
Yeah, I just
I didn't really have anything to board in, so
sometimes tapping out on 5 can be hard for you though.
Yeah.
Just tapping out on 5 and then him Selesnya charming you thing, that was kind of like it was like the start of him winning that game.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was a really big swing.
Definitely. So if I had anything else to board in, I would have. I don't think any of the other cards in my sideboard I like, though. I almost boarded in the Plummet. I have 1-off Plummet in the sideboard. Because I was like, against like a Johnny, if he tries to get me.
Yeah.
But I was like, he's got no flying creatures in his deck. So
pretty loose cannon move there if you did that.
That was pretty ambitious.
Maybe
I
too
didn't
creative.
do that. Yeah. I could have also sideboarded in the Bow of Naya. I thought about that just because I can maybe attack with Pukanos and Monstrous and kill some of his dudes.
Yeah.
Because I figure if he has no dudes, then he can't win.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were also wondering about the Stormbreath Dragons, if those guys were coming out. Do you have any of those in there?
There's 4 in the deck. None of them came out just because there's nothing to put in for them.
Yeah, the problem with playing 2 colors, especially in a format where you're limited to a card pool like standard, there's not a lot of sideboard options, so it's hard to really get all the cards in that you get enough cards in your sideboard that you can have good matchups in all your matchups.
Yeah, like my sideboard I don't think is very super duper accurate. I put in a Boon Satyr just because I thought it was slightly better than Xenagos, the Reveler.
Yeah.
And then I put in 1 Anger of the Gods because I had one, and I was like, well, that can kill. I mean, it can't really kill his good cards, but it can kill Voices, and it can kill Fleece Mains and Witch Stalkers before they get.
No, definitely Mizzy Mortars I think is good there.
Yeah, and Mizzy Mortars left in obviously.
Yeah, between Anger of the Gods and Mizzy Mortars, I think you'd have a lot of good options.
Yeah, I feel like I probably just needed to get a Domri and just
Domris.
Yeah, my ideal probably there is just play Pukanos on turn 3 or something, and then just fight and just mortars and kill all his dudes and attack.
I think looking back on it, do you think you should have mulliganed your last hand, or still kind of
I'd still keep it. That game was pretty dang close, regardless of how badly I ended up getting smashed in it. I think I'd still keep it. I mean, at the end of the game, I had Polish Crusher out.
Yeah.
So if I can survive a turn, I can come in and kill his Boon Satyr.
Definitely Polish Crusher was good there.
Yeah, Polish Crusher was good.
Not as good when he has trample, but
yeah, the trample was I think just that match seems like blocking is just a terrible idea in general.
Yeah,
so,
you just kind of want to be the aggressor.
Yeah.
With the removal spells.
Yeah. Especially with the amount of Rampagers that we saw in that match.
And it seems like your deck actually has more removal spells too. You have the Anger of the Gods, you have the Mizzy Mortars, you have the Domri Raids, and he has Selesnya Charm, and he still was able to kind of remove your creatures better than you.
Yeah. I mean, that's just what happened.
Yeah. How do you feel about Unflinching Courage in that matchup? I was surprised you cited it in, but it seemed like a powerhouse.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was really good. Typically, the red-green deck can hit for a lot of damage, but he can put it on a pretty big thing. Yeah. So I liked it. I liked it actually a lot because it didn't end up doing this, but a lot of the creatures you can put him on, he can just take them out of Mizzy Mortars range or out of fight range.
That's what I was thinking.
Because all the red-green removal is just Domri Fight or Mizzy Mortars or Pukanos or it's all damage-based. So if you can just get a bigger thing, then it's a little bit hard to deal with that.
And if you're kind of tapping out on your turn, because all your removal spells
are all sorcery speed,
and he gets to swing for 7 trample. Even if you're able to remove it, most of your removal is going to be fighting it or something, and it's still
it'll at least be 3 mana gain a lot of life at the worst, and totally be in an awkward position. So actually, it was pretty good. That card. Yeah, I in the second game, I so thought he was dead. I was like, I'm gonna 16 him, and then he's like his life total. I was like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when doing 16 damage is not good enough.
When doing 16 damage isn't good enough.
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah.
brought him down to 2 even after the 7-point life swing.
I
Or
didn't.
14
I
point
didn't
life
expect. I did not expect that. That was sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good match. I punted the second game for sure. I should have just.
What
I
was the
should've
mistake you were referencing?
Oh, when I attacked with my 4/4 dude, I should have just bestowed the Boon Satyr there and shouldn't have tried to just get in the 4 extra damage. You know, it exposes what I've got, but like, I don't know.
Do you do more damage and then you didn't get that voice counter token, right?
Yeah, and then he wouldn't have gotten the voice
Yeah.
thing. I mean, if he did have Celestial Charm, it would have been really bad for me, but I don't know.
You needed to take that gamble. You feel
Yeah,
in
that was. I
retrospect.
should have just taken the gamble. And like the thing was, I didn't know his deck at all, so I didn't realize he was playing Advent of the Worm. That's not a card I expected.
Yeah.
I just wasn't thinking about it really. And so when he passed with 4 mana open, I was thinking like, what does this creature deck do with 4 mana? You know,
2 removal spells.
I was thinking in my mind, I was like, oh, it's Celestial Charm. So yeah, that I should not have been thinking that. I should have been thinking Advent of the Worm. That's pretty obvious in retrospect, but that's why I ended up not bestowing. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, there we have it. That was Ian. Losing in round 3, but still a chance for top 8, definitely. We'll be coming back to you in just a couple minutes to bring you round 4 of our FNM, and then we'll be seeing you soon. Signing off.
All right.